Knowledge is everything. Keep learning every day. DNS, Domain Name System, is a system that translates domain names into IP addresses, allowing users to access websites and other online resources using human-friendly names instead of hard-to-remember IP addresses. When a user types a domain name into their web browser, the browser sends a request to a DNS resolver, which is usually provided by the user's Internet Service Provider, ISP, or a third-party DNS provider. The DNS resolver then sends a query to the root DNS servers to find out which authoritative DNS servers are responsible for the top-level domain of the requested domain name, for example, com, org, edu, etc. Once the authoritative DNS server for the top-level domain is identified, the resolver sends another query to that server to find out the authoritative DNS server for the second-level domain, for example google.com. This process continues until the resolver reaches the authoritative DNS server for the specific domain name being requested. The authoritative DNS server then responds with the IP address associated with the requested domain name, which is passed back to the user's web browser. The browser can then use that IP address to connect to the web server hosting the website or other online resource. DNS also includes a caching mechanism, which allows DNS resolvers to store the results of previous queries for a period of time, so that subsequent requests for the same domain name can be resolved more quickly. This helps to reduce the load on the DNS system and improve the performance of the Internet as a whole. In addition to translating domain names into IP addresses, DNS can also be used for other purposes, such as identifying mail servers for a domain, MX records, or providing security information about a website, DNSSEC. Usage of DNS. DNS, Domain Name System, is a crucial component of the Internet infrastructure that is used for several purposes, including resolving domain names to IP addresses. DNS allows users to access websites, email servers, and other online resources using human-friendly domain names instead of IP addresses, which are difficult to remember. Load balancing. DNS can be used to distribute traffic across multiple servers to ensure that no single server is overloaded with traffic. This is commonly used by large websites and other online services. Email routing. DNS is used to identify the mail servers responsible for accepting and delivering email messages for a specific domain name. This is done using MX, mail exchange, records. Security. DNS can be used to implement security measures, such as DNSSEC, DNS security extensions, which provides cryptographic protection for DNS records to prevent spoofing and other attacks. Content filtering. DNS can be used to block access to websites and other online resources based on their domain names or IP addresses. This is commonly used by schools, businesses, and other organizations to restrict access to certain types of content. Analytics. DNS can be used to gather data about the usage of the Internet, including the popularity of websites, the geographic distribution of users, and other metrics. Overall, DNS is a critical component of the Internet infrastructure that enables users to access online resources easily and efficiently, while also providing security and other important features. Types of DNS. There are several types of DNS that perform different functions in the domain name resolution process. Here are some of the most common types of DNS. Recursive DNS. This is the type of DNS resolver that most users interact with. When a user types a domain name into their web browser, the recursive DNS resolver sends queries to other DNS servers on behalf of the user to resolve the domain name into an IP address. Authoritative DNS. This type of DNS server is responsible for providing the IP address associated with a specific domain name. Authoritative DNS servers are configured by the owners of the domain name, and they provide the final answer to queries about that domain name. Root DNS. The root DNS servers are the highest level of the DNS hierarchy, and they are responsible for directing DNS resolvers to the appropriate authoritative DNS servers for a specific domain name. There are only 13 root DNS servers in the world. TLD DNS, top-level domain. TLD DNS servers are responsible for providing information about the authoritative DNS servers for specific TLDs, such as com, org, and net. Forward DNS. This type of DNS resolves domain names to IP addresses. Reverse DNS. This type of DNS resolves IP addresses to domain names. Reverse DNS is commonly used for spam filtering and other security-related purposes. Caching DNS. This type of DNS resolver caches previous DNS lookups for a specific period of time to speed up the resolution process for subsequent queries. Dynamic DNS. This type of DNS allows hosts with dynamic IP addresses to update their DNS records with their current IP address, making them accessible via a domain name. Dynamic DNS is commonly used for home networks and small businesses.